The following video was recorded inside what looks like an old, weathered building. Pale yellow walls, worn stone floors, a motorcycle parked in front of a dark doorway. Late at night, someone is panning slowly upward toward a second-story balcony with an ornate white balustrade. The whole time, a loud, continuous metallic droning fills the air, high-pitched and grinding, like something between a siren and machinery that doesn't want to stop. Whatever brought this person here, something had clearly already put them on edge. Watch. In the shadows between two of the balcony posts, a dark humanoid silhouette materializes, distinct enough that you can make out a head and shoulders, and then a single glowing red point of light appears where the eye would be, looking directly down. The camera drops and jerks sideways almost instantly. That reaction is hard to fake. Some viewers think the red eye is the detail that separates this from a trick of shadow. There's nothing natural that produces a single glowing point like that in deep darkness. Others believe it's a digital effect layered over real footage. But if you watch closely, the moment that shape holds its position and stares down, it's difficult to explain away as anything ordinary. What do you think was standing on that balcony? The following video was recorded by a security camera inside what appears to be a restaurant or bar storage room, a narrow pantry lined with shelves stocked with bottles, supplies, and equipment, the kind of back-of-house space that nobody thinks twice about. For the first several seconds, the room is completely still, just the low hum of refrigeration in the background and the faint sound of voices somewhere else in the building going about normal business. Nothing looks out of place. Watch. A glass bottle on one of the top shelves violently shatters without any visible trigger. No one in the room, nothing falling into it, nothing touching it. Dark liquid sprays outward and downward, spattering across the floor and the stack of blue water jugs below. Some viewers think pressure buildup or a glass defect could explain it. Others aren't so sure, pointing out the sheer force of it. What do you think caused that? Now, in this next clip, a security camera positioned over a narrow alleyway captures something in the dead of night, 12 minutes past midnight on Christmas Day, 2025, with the whole scene lit by a single warm overhead light and no one around. The alley is completely still at first. A dog barks once in the distance and then goes quiet. Watch. A semi-transparent, smoky mass drifts in from the darkness at the top of the frame, moving steadily across the illuminated stretch of the alleyway before dissolving or slipping out of the light entirely. And if you pay attention to the audio, the dog erupts into frantic barking the exact moment that shape appears, then stops almost immediately after it's gone. That timing is what a lot of viewers find impossible to dismiss. Some think it's steam, a passing insect close to the lens, or a cold air disturbance triggering an artifact in the camera's night mode. Others aren't so sure. What do you think that was? In this next clip, recorded at 7:35 p.m. on security cameras inside what appears to be a commercial space, the last person in the building has just said goodnight and headed out. Door latch clicking shut behind them, footsteps fading across the floor, car starting up outside. The place goes completely silent after that. Nobody left inside. No reason for anything else to be heard. Listen closely.
I'll take care now.
Once the space empties out, a faint, high-pitched voice breaks through the quiet, childlike, almost sing-song, repeating what sounds like a two-syllable phrase in quick succession. Some people hear hello, others insist it sounds closer to help me or even mama, though the words stay just indistinct enough that you can't quite lock them down. This kind of audio anomaly is often referred to as an EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon, a term used to describe unexplained voices picked up or on recording equipment when no living source is present. Skeptics argue the voice could be bleed-through from a neighboring space or audio interference. But if that's the case, why does it only appear once the building goes quiet? What exactly was left behind in that room? Someone is home alone at night when they claim something responds after they played a Ouija board by themselves, and the way they're holding the camera tells you everything about where their head is at. A Ouija board sits on the floor near the sofa, the lights are low, and two dark doorways lead into rooms the camera never fully reaches. Whatever they believe is in that kitchen, they're not going anywhere near it. Watch. If you focus on the kitchen, you'll notice what appears to be a dark human-shaped figure standing completely motionless. It remains perfectly still for several seconds, almost blending into the shadows, before suddenly shifting position. The movement is subtle, but enough to convince the person filming that they aren't alone. The Ouija board immediately became the center of the discussion. Within paranormal tradition, many believe these boards are intended as tools for communicating with spirits, and a common warning is never to use one alone. According to that belief, a session should always be properly closed. Otherwise, whatever is contacted may remain attached to the location or the person involved. There is no scientific evidence supporting these claims, but the belief has become one of the most enduring pieces of Ouija folklore. Others see the situation very differently. They argue that after using something already associated with fear, it's natural to become hyper-alert, interpreting ordinary shadows or slight movements as something supernatural. In that view, the real story isn't the figure itself, it's how expectation and fear can transform an ordinary room into something terrifying. This next clip was recorded inside what appears to be a home late at night by a woman holding her phone, and from the very first second, something already feels wrong. She's standing in a room off a dark hallway, and you can hear it before you see anything. Heavy, rhythmic creaking coming from somewhere nearby, the kind of sound that makes you stop and hold your breath. Then, the door in front of her, a closed white door, begins to swing open on its own. She calls out into the darkness, a name, questioning, like she's hoping for a simple explanation. She doesn't get one. Watch.
Loli.
What she finds at the far end of that hallway is a tall, slender silhouette, completely motionless, backlit by a faint orange glow from a room further down. She doesn't run immediately. She gets closer, peering through the glass panes of the door, and that hesitation makes it so much worse. Her breathing shifts from nervous to outright panicked the moment that shape comes into view. She whispers in French, asking who's there, and gets nothing back. No movement, no answer. Just that figure standing in the dark, waiting. Some viewers believe she genuinely captured something inhuman that night, an entity that had been mimicking her cat to draw her into that hallway. Others think the whole 33 seconds was staged. But that reaction, the gasping, the choke scream at the end, is hard to manufacture on command. What do you think she was looking at? This next video was recorded by a man who claims something has been living in his basement, or at the very least, something has been making itself known from behind that door every single night at the same hour. According to him, it always starts the same way. Loud rhythmic banging, always at 2:17 a.m., always coming from the basement door at the end of the narrow hallway just outside his bedroom. He'd been lying in bed listening to it for nights on end, and on this particular night, he decided he wasn't going to just wait it out. He grabbed his phone, got up, and walked toward the door in the dark. Watch.
Hello? Who's there? Oh my god! Oh my god!
What you hear in that hallway is not subtle. It's violent. The kind of banging that sounds less like pipes settling and more like something on the other side desperately trying to get through. He calls out twice, and the silence that follows is almost worse than the noise. Then it erupts again, louder, faster, more forceful, and his reaction tells you everything. The camera shakes, he gasps, and then it stops just as suddenly as it started. That alone is unsettling. Some viewers watching this pointed immediately to infrasound. The idea that low-frequency vibrations in old homes can create auditory hallucinations and intense feelings of dread, a skeptic's explanation that holds up right until you hear the door physically rattling on its hinges. Others think something darker has been drawn to that space, something that's grown bolder the longer it's been ignored. But he didn't open the door that night. He asked the question, and his audience answered. That changed everything. In the second clip, he comes back, this time with 57% of his viewers telling him to open it. He walks the same hallway, phone light cutting through the dark, and reaches for the handle. Watch.
Okay guys, you wanted me to open this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, who is that? Oh shit! Hello? Who's there? What the f-
The door doesn't just open, it's thrown open as if something on the other side had been waiting with its full weight pressed against it. And before he can even process that, a faint ethereal singing voice drifts up from the dark staircase, a woman's voice, soft and melodic and completely out of place. Then a small black creature screeches and darts up the stairs so fast it's almost impossible to track with the eye. Quadrupedal, low to the ground, gone in a fraction of a second. He goes down anyway, and once he's in the basement, a metallic crash erupts from somewhere off camera. The door at the top of the stairs slams shut, and suddenly he's alone in the dark with whatever is down there. The creature, small and fast and screeching, has people divided. Some viewers familiar with accounts of shadow animals describe similar beings. Dark, quick, not quite any animal they can name. Sometimes interpreted as a familiar or a manifestation that attaches itself to a location rather than a person. Others think it could be a physical animal that found its way in, though that explanation gets harder to hold on to when you factor in the singing voice and a door that throws itself open. What lives in that basement and whether this man made it back up those stairs is something the footage doesn't answer. The following clips were all recorded at the same home. Different nights, different cameras, but the same creeping sense that something in this house isn't quite right. It starts subtly enough. The first piece of footage comes from a porch security camera at 11:11 at night, the kind of timestamp that already makes people uncomfortable. Watch. A bright circular shape, glowing, out of focus with that floating quality that sets it apart from a falling leaf or blowing debris, drifts downward from the top of the frame and moves toward the front door before disappearing entirely. Now, skeptics will point out immediately that orbs like this are extremely common on infrared security cameras, usually caused by dust particles or insects hovering close to the lens and catching the reflected light. That's the rational explanation, and it's a solid one. But in ancient folklore stretching back centuries, orbs of light were interpreted as something far more intentional. Manifestations of spirits or energies serving as a bridge between our world and something beyond it. Whether this is a speck of dust or something more meaningful, what it does is set the tone for everything that follows. Something in this house seems to be making itself known. That same night, just after 11:43 p.m., the indoor Nest camera catches something with considerably less ambiguity. The living room is dark and quiet, small dogs restless in the background, when without warning, a loud crash erupts from somewhere off camera. Watch. The unseen object hits hard, the kind of crash that doesn't sound like something that simply fell, and within seconds, a woman rushes from the backyard across the patio, bursting through the door in pajamas, grabbing what looks like a fly swatter, calling out for her dog Mackenzie, her voice high and disoriented. She hadn't been inside when it happened. Nothing should have fallen. But something did, loudly and without explanation, in an empty room. A few nights later, at 3:10 in the morning, the same living room camera captures something even harder to dismiss. The woman is sitting on the gray sofa, a white circular tray resting in her lap, or on the coffee table in front of her, the TV murmuring in the background. Take a look.
Because my search is 6 and I won. I gave you 6 points, I'm deducting 7. This is ridiculous. Don't make me think about numbers again. A brave and accurate decision. Yes, Captain. Yes. Yeah, holy Captain, your horticulture is harvestable. Ah, good. Come on, thank you. Fine. Hurry happily and Hank is hungry. Hollow hippo.
The tray flips out of her lap as she starts to stand. Unusual, but manageable. And then, after she picks it up and holds it in both hands, it is violently thrown sideways across the room toward the fireplace by something she clearly cannot see. She flinches back, hands still raised, visibly shaken. That's not a dropped object. That's not physics. The force and the horizontal trajectory make the mundane explanations fall apart quickly, and many viewers who've seen this clip describe it as one of the clearest examples they've encountered of something physically interacting with a person inside their own home. Then, it got worse. In what is arguably the most unsettling clip from this house, the woman is standing on the front porch late at night, talking on the phone, a completely ordinary conversation about food and laundry, when the front door behind her slams shut. Listen closely.
Hey, when are you coming over?
I gotta wait for my work clothes to dry. And I'm coming.
Okay, I'm hungry.
I understand that. I can't just not leave without my work clothes.
Okay, that's fair. Well, do you want me to just make something here?
What do you have?
I mean, like pizzas or maybe chicken nuggets, nothing crazy.
Do you have ranch at your house?
No, can you bring your ranch?
Pretty much.
Come on.
Dude, my door just closed.
So the slam's down?
Yes. And it's locked.
What the fuck?
I just got locked out of my house.
Is anyone there?
Yes, nobody's here.
That's kind of scary. Where are the doors?
Luna! Luna's inside by herself. I don't even see her in there.
Well,
Hang on.
Thing rash. Lady? Hello? Touched it.
She spins around immediately, tries the handle, and it won't open. She's locked out of her own house. She's panicking, telling the man on the phone that nobody's inside, calling out for her dog Luna, pacing the porch in visible distress. Then, the phone call drops, and from the interior camera, the locked door swings open on its own, unlocking and pushing inward with force, letting her back inside to a room that immediately fills with frantic barking and a loud, rapid electronic chiming sound that no one triggers. The sequence of events, door slamming, locking, then unlocking, isn't something that fits easily into any straightforward explanation. Drafts don't lock deadbolts. Glitches don't let you back in. For viewers who'd been following the activity in this home, this clip felt like confirmation that whatever they were dealing with wasn't passive. It was paying attention. And then came the night that made everything else feel like a prologue. She's in the bedroom with her two dogs, Luna and another large fluffy dog, and the dogs are restless in the way animals get when they sense something their owners can't yet locate. She moves the camera toward the window and presses it to the glass, looking out into the pitch black woods. Watch closely.
Luna, come here. Sit. Come here. Can't see.
Deep in the darkness, a small, solitary red light sits completely still among the tree trunks, not moving, not flickering, just hovering there while she watches it for over 30 seconds, whispering and swearing under her breath, her breathing growing heavier. Then she pulls the camera away from the window when she hears a groaning sound. The red light outside may never be explained. Stationary and isolated, it doesn't behave like any passing vehicle or animal. But the lamp turning itself on while her back was turned, in a room she never left, is what breaks the clip open. Whatever is happening in this house has moved through nearly every room. The porch, the living room, the front door, the bedroom, and each clip shows it getting closer to her, more direct, more willing to make itself felt. Where it goes from here is the part that keeps people up at night. The following clips were recorded inside a funeral home, a place where, according to the man filming, strange noises had already been happening for a while before he ever pointed a camera at anything. During the day, the showroom sits completely still, rows of coffins displayed on tiered racks beneath bright natural light flooding through a wall of large windows, the kind of space that's unsettling enough even when nothing moves. He insists the room was empty, and yet, according to him, things had already been shifting on their own. Watch.
Miren, como tenemos rato escuchando ruidos aquí en esta zona. Si vemos, pues está solo. Y creemos que pues hay algo aquí, porque pues se empiezan a mover así como que medio raro. Miren. Miren cómo se mueve, miren. Miren cómo se mueve. nada. No hay nada, no hay nada, no hay nada. Está mi compañero, pero pues si vemos estamos solos.
One of the dark wood coffins on the lower rack begins to rock rhythmically back and forth, wobbling in a steady, sustained motion with no one near it. He rushes over and opens the lid himself, white-lined, completely empty inside. He pans the camera to show the room, and the only other person visible is his companion, walking out from behind a partition in the background. Some viewers think the rhythmic, controlled nature of the shaking suggests something mechanical or a person out of frame, but others find it hard to explain given how openly he shows the empty interior immediately after. Either way, it wasn't enough to make them leave. That same night, they were back, and what happened next was a completely different kind of experience. Watch closely.
Estamos aquí en la funeraria, otra vez, con ruidos raros. Entonces, pues, está solo. Ahora sí. Igual pinche que se ve, que nada. Estoy solo a la chingada. Estoy solo. Chingada. Ah, la chingada. Ah, la... No mames. Ah, la chingada.
He's alone in a narrow hallway at the back of the funeral home, scanning a storage room packed with rows of tall silver metal stands, candelabras and pedestals used for funeral services, standing upright in tight formation. Then, one of them suddenly crashes to the right, and before he can even react to that, the rest follow. A massive, violent wave of metal striking the floor all at once, the sound filling the entire hallway. The camera whips sideways as he screams in pure panic and the clip just ends. What's harder to dismiss here isn't just the noise but the sequence. One stand falls first, as if triggered, and then the rest come down seconds later with far more force than a single domino-style collapse would explain. Some believe what they captured across both clips points to an intelligent presence, something in that building that escalates when it feels watched. A funeral home that absorbs the energy of loss for years, many argue, becomes exactly the kind of place that holds on to something. And whatever was in that storage room clearly didn't want them there after dark. The following video was recorded on a quiet morning at just past 10 a.m., inside a home that its owner describes as anything but ordinary. A living room full of gothic decor, taxidermy, vintage furniture, and objects he says he's collected specifically from haunted places over the years. He'd woken up that morning with a feeling he couldn't shake, the kind that made him reach for a camera before he could fully explain why. The house was freezing despite a lit fire, and strange scratching sounds had been drifting in from the dining room. So he started filming, panning slowly around the room, and even asking out loud for whatever was there to make itself known. His cat was already acting strangely, pacing near the archway, looking back toward the dining table. Then something answered. Watch.
Okay folks, as you can see it's almost 20 past 10 in the morning. I've decided to start filming because I knew something wasn't right in this house this morning. I've got the fire on, as you can see there, and it's warm outside. But the house is freezing. And furthermore, there's constant, I don't know, scratchy type noises coming from the dining room. So I've got it out there, that's the cat, on the off chance. If you're making noises in here, make yourself known. Do it now while I've got an actual camera out again. It's driving me absolutely wild, to be honest. Oh, it's cold. Can you do something to make your presence known? Oh, my TV's gone off. Right, okay. Ooh, there's a bit of an atmosphere, you know, guys. Cat's acting a bit weird as well. What's wrong? You okay? What? Right, Thank you for doing that. Okay. Woo, I'm freaked out. Thank you. What is it you want? Why do you just randomly flare every now and then? The cat is going nuts at the bottom of the stairs. If you've just moved that chair, do something for me again. Can you hear that noise? Sophia, what are you doing? Oh, what was that? What was that? What was that? What? Jesus. Okay, as many of you know that follow me for quite some time now, every so often I'll get a little flare of activity in this house. It is filled with objects I've collected from haunted places or that are said to be haunted. Whew, I'm a little bit shook up by that. It always starts with the cats as well, you know, they know when something's about to go on. Whoa, I don't know what to make of that. Look.
3 separate things happen in this clip, each one louder and more violent than the last. The TV switches off on its own the moment he asks for a sign. Then a dining chair slides sharply backward across the wooden floor with no one near it, and you can hear the scrape clearly as the cat bolts out of frame in the same instant. Then, a floor lamp and everything sitting on the side table next to the armchair gets thrown to the ground in one sudden crash. He's barely keeping the camera steady by the time it's over. What makes this so hard to dismiss is the layering of it. 3 distinct events, escalating in force, with the cat reacting before each one like it knew what was coming. He explains at the end that this is something that happens in what he calls flares, periods of intense activity that seem connected to the haunted objects he keeps in the house. If you follow cases involving cursed or spiritually charged objects, that framing fits a pattern that shows up often. The idea that certain items don't just carry a location's energy, but actively draw activity wherever they're brought. Paranormal researchers sometimes refer to this as object attachment, where the presence isn't tied to the building at all, but to whatever came in through the front door. The cats, he says, are always the first to know. And looking at how they move in this footage, it's difficult to argue with that. What do you think is living in that collection with him? The following video was recorded around 2:40 a.m. when a man wakes up alone in his dark bedroom and quickly notices something's wrong. The cupboard door across the room is open, and the light he always leaves on as a warning has gone out. He explains this quietly in a hushed and clearly frightened voice, saying he covers that light while he sleeps so the glare doesn't hit his eyes, but he keeps it on specifically so he knows when what he calls the haunting hour has begun. Tonight, it's off, and that alone tells him something has already started. He keeps the camera trained on the dark doorway at the far end of the room, barely moving, barely breathing. Watch.
Where's the cupboard open? The lights are off. You see, I normally keep that light on because that's how I get to know the haunting has begun or not. And that's why I've actually covered the lights so that it doesn't glare on my eyes while I'm sleeping. The cupboard is open right now. I'm alone in the room. It's at the door. Stop it! Stop it, please. Go fuck yourself, Jerry. Go fuck yourself. Shit. I'm not gonna stay here.
What starts as an uneasy silence erupts into something far more aggressive. Loud, metallic banging striking the door repeatedly, then a door handle rattling with violent force, the kind of sound that doesn't leave much room for a rational explanation. He shouts at it to stop, pleads with it, and then for just a few seconds, it does. The silence that follows is almost worse than the noise, and then a child's voice comes out of the dark, soft, clear, and completely disembodied, saying, "Daddy?" He doesn't hesitate. He screams back at it, calling it Jerry by name, which means this isn't the first time something has spoken to him like this. A loud crash follows immediately, as if whatever is in there responded to being called out. He scrambles out of bed and runs down the hallway toward the front door, not stopping once. Many believe mimicry is one of the most disturbing tools a negative presence can use, borrowing a voice that bypasses logic and hits somewhere much deeper. So, what exactly is Jerry, and why does it know what to say? Now, in this next clip, a woman who works in an emergency room starts noticing something she can't explain during one of her overnight shifts. A vital signs monitor in an empty room keeps powering on by itself and displaying readings that, according to every rule of how that equipment works, simply shouldn't be possible. She'd already reset the monitor, turned it off, confirmed no patients were assigned to it. Watch.
So there's nobody in this room. The leads are against the wall. And that's what it's reading.
The monitor is showing a heart rate, 56 beats per minute at first, then slowly climbing, then dropping down into the 40s before the leads off alarm triggers. She pans the camera down to show you the leads hanging loose against the wall, not attached to anything. "There's nobody in this room," she says. "The leads are against the wall, and that's what it's reading. Some believe hospitals hold residual energy from patients who pass there, something that imprints on the equipment itself. Others aren't so sure. What exactly was that monitor picking up?" The following clips were all recorded by the same man, and taken together, they paint a picture of something building. Something that started with a strange sound in a dark attic and kept getting worse no matter what he did. In the first video, he's out in what appears to be a shed or garage during the day, working on tools, when he starts hearing something coming from a closet in the back, one that leads up into an attic through a fixed wooden ladder. He openly admits he's never been up there, not once since he bought the house. He's clearly unsettled even before he opens that door. Watch.
You can believe me or not, I don't care, but listen to this. I'm out in the shed, working on tools. Listen, if I hear it again, dude, I swear to God, there's something up in this attic, man. I'm not getting up in here and shit. Do you hear that? Dude, oh my God, bro. Oh my God, man, there's something in this neighborhood, dude. Oh my God. Dude, I don't know what to do in a situation like this. Do you hear this shit, man? This thing was built before I bought this house, man. I've never gone up here one time. What was that, man? There's stuff up here. Left from the previous owner. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
Twice, from somewhere above, a high-pitched wailing sound rises out of the darkness, something between a cat meowing and a baby crying. He shuts the door, opens it again, hears it a second time, and then, against every instinct, he climbs up anyway. The moment the camera breaches the attic floor, the sound hits again, close, sharp, and this time almost forming a word. He drops the camera and the video cuts. For a lot of viewers, that specific quality of the sound is what stuck with them. It's too structured to be wind, too close to be a stray animal on the roof. Some people pointed to the possibility of a trapped animal. Cats in particular are known to find their way into attic spaces and produce sounds that can genuinely unnerve people in an enclosed space. But others weren't so quick to explain it away, especially given what came next. In the second clip, he's back. Same shed, same attic, same setup. And this time, he tells the camera he's already been out there and heard more noises since. He makes his way to that same dark opening and calls out into the black. Listen closely.
So if you watch my first video, if you believe it or you don't, that's fine. But I have been hearing some noises up in the attic in my shed. People told me to be quiet. You try to do this. But I've been out here, already heard some noises, so... People said it could be raccoons and shit. So, if there's raccoons or pigeons, I don't. Hey, is anybody up here? Is anybody up here? Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
When he asks, "Is anybody up here?" something answers. A loud bang hits back from the darkness almost immediately. Sharp, deliberate, like a response. He asks again. And then, from deep inside that unlit space, something releases a guttural, multi-toned roar that doesn't match any common animal sound. He runs. That sound is the detail that split viewers most. Skeptics argued it could be a large raccoon or even a fisher cat, an animal notorious for producing shockingly aggressive and non-human vocalizations. But the way the bang responded directly to his question, the apparent call and response quality of it, is the part that's harder to rationalize away, because random animal noise doesn't typically time itself to what a person just said. By the third visit, he's back with his phone's flashlight on this time, and you can tell he's been losing sleep over this. His knees are shaking before he even gets to the ladder. He pushes the camera up into the attic and calls out a third time. Watch closely.
All right, you guys don't believe me, and that's fine. I've been out here again trying to organize these tools. I'm gonna show you what I've heard up there, and I've seen something moving. So you can believe me or you don't have to, I don't care, but watch this shit. My knees, I'm literally shaking. If you guys... All right. How do I turn the light on this? All right, I got the light on. Oh my God. Listen to this. Listen to this. Dude, I'm telling you, man. Is anybody up here? What the? Is anybody up here? Oh my God. Is anybody up here? Hey, is it? Oh my God!
On the attic floor, a small metal object slides several inches with no visible cause. Then, deeper in the space, a dark container near the back moves, and a solid, humanoid figure rises from behind it, silhouetted against a faint light at the far end. It holds there for a moment, then lunges. He screams and the camera goes down. That figure is what the entire comment section fixated on. Some people immediately called it a person, someone squatting in the attic, possibly a trespasser who had been living up there undetected, which honestly might be the most disturbing explanation of all. Others pointed to the shape and the way it rose, too abrupt, too still before it moved, and went somewhere else entirely. In paranormal communities, the idea of an entity that occupies enclosed liminal spaces like attics and crawl spaces has a long history. Some traditions describe these as threshold guardians, presences that are drawn to the boundary between lived space and forgotten space. Whether or not you buy that framing, the figure in that attic is not easy to dismiss. That changed everything. Then came his Ring camera. He shares a clip from his property at dusk, showing a dark, indistinct shape near the tree line at the edge of the yard, and the audio that came with it is unlike anything in the earlier clips.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. Look at this video. But I have no words for whatever that noise was. And where the fuck is my Ring camera? I just got that today. Dude. Thoughts? Comments? Man, I'm almost speechless.
A series of guttural, wet-sounding grunts and wheezing roars erupts from the direction of the woods. His dog, heard barking in the background the entire time, is frantic. And then the Ring camera itself is physically grabbed or knocked from its position, the view lurching violently before the footage cuts. He comes back on camera afterward looking genuinely shaken, asking where his camera even went. The sounds from the tree line don't match the attic vocalizations exactly. They're heavier, more animal. But the pattern of something responding to his presence, then making physical contact, lines up in a way that's uncomfortable to ignore. Some viewers familiar with Dogman or Bigfoot encounter reports pointed to the vocalizations as consistent with those cases. Others weren't ready to go that far and suggested a large territorial animal, possibly a bear. But a bear doesn't knock a security camera off its mount with apparent intent. And whatever had been in that attic didn't behave like a bear either. The most recent clip in the series brings a different kind of dread. It's 5 in the morning, pitch dark, and he's in a room near a window he left open in the hallway. Listen closely.
Listen to me right now. It is 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I hear something coming out of my window. Shit. Oh my God, I had the light on, dude. There is something walking around outside of my window. Seriously, did you hear that? Rewind it if you didn't. What was that? I was in my room down the hallway and I left the den window open and I was hearing like walking and twigs. It did not sound like normal. And I was like, shit, I left the window open. And that's what I heard. Hold on, there's more. I could hear it down the hallway.
Could I be blowing this out of proportion? I mean, possibly, but like I genuinely heard something. Listen to it, rewind it, and turn it up and tell me if you didn't hear something too. You know, and mind you, that was at 5 o'clock in the morning.
2 soft, deliberate taps land on the glass or wall from outside. Then, immediately after, a raspy, disembodied voice whispers what sounds unmistakably like, "Come here." He cuts to a daytime debrief in his car to explain what he was hearing: walking, twigs, movement near the window, and then the nighttime footage resumes and a prolonged scratching sound begins along the exterior wall, like something with claws is dragging itself along the outside of the house. He whispers that he can hear it moving down the hallway. He can't see anything through the screen. That whispered voice is the detail that most people couldn't shake because the sounds in the attic were strange, but they were sounds. A voice is something else. It implies awareness, something that knew he was on the other side of that window and wanted him to open it. Whether that's a person, an animal that has learned patterns, or something that has been circling this property for longer than any of these videos have been rolling. I'll leave that to you to decide. But what I can tell you is that across all 5 of these clips, the activity hasn't stayed in one place and it doesn't seem to be stopping. The following clip was captured 3 in the morning by a man in what appears to be a residential home when they started hearing something that didn't belong. A loud, rhythmic banging coming from behind a closed door at the end of the hallway. Not a random creak, not the house settling. This was forceful and consistent, like something on the other side was deliberately making itself known. Armed with a flashlight as their only light source, they move down the dark hallway toward the door, and you can feel the tension just in how the beam shakes as they approach. The banging doesn't slow down. It doesn't stop. Watch. The moment the door swings open, the banging cuts off completely. Instantly, like a switch was flipped, revealing nothing but a steep wooden staircase dropping into an empty, unfinished basement. A cardboard box at the bottom. That's it. Then, a single loud bang erupts from somewhere at the foot of those stairs and the door slams shut. Within seconds, the rhythmic pounding starts right back up, just as aggressive, just as relentless as before. What makes this so hard to dismiss is the intelligence of it. The banging stopped the moment the door opened, as if whatever was causing it knew. Skeptics would argue pipes, thermal expansion, or an animal trapped in the walls, and under ordinary circumstances, those are reasonable explanations. But pipes don't stop on cue when a door opens. They don't resume the moment it closes. Some viewers think this is consistent with what paranormal researchers call a responsive haunting, activity that reacts directly to the witness rather than playing out like background noise. Others believe something was luring whoever was holding that camera to open that door. And if you think about what was waiting at the bottom of those stairs, or what wasn't, the question isn't what caused the banging, it's why it wanted that door open. The following video was recorded on the night of September 7th of 2024 at around 8 in the evening in what appears to be a residential neighborhood somewhere in the suburbs. Whoever captured this was filming through a window, pointing their phone at a security monitor, which gives the whole thing that shaky, slightly washed out quality you'll notice right away. The kind of footage that already feels like something's wrong before you've even seen anything. The street below is quiet, lit only by a few streetlights cutting through the dark, and a dark-colored car is already parked along the curb. For a few seconds, nothing moves. Watch. At the very edge of the front garden, a figure bursts into view at an incredible speed. Within a second, it vaults onto the fence, balancing there briefly before appearing to pause and look out toward the road. Moments later, it drops back down, runs toward a white car parked nearby, and then heads in the direction of the house the vehicle is sitting in front of before disappearing from view. The speed is what immediately caught viewers' attention. Some believed it was simply a person cutting through the neighborhood, climbing the fence to avoid being seen before making their way toward the nearby property. Others weren't convinced. A number of paranormal enthusiasts pointed out that the figure's movement appears unusually agile, comparing it to reports of so-called crawler sightings, humanoid creatures described as moving on all fours, scaling fences effortlessly, and pausing to observe from elevated positions before vanishing into the darkness. Similar reports have appeared online for years, though none have ever been verified. Of course, security cameras flatten depth and distort motion, making ordinary people and animals look far stranger than they really are. So was it just someone taking a shortcut through the neighborhood, or did the camera capture something that wasn't entirely human? Now in this next clip, a home security system captures something that no one in the house was awake to see, at least no one living. The footage was recorded late at night by two static cameras, one mounted outside near the front door and one positioned indoors at a high angle, looking down toward a hallway door. The house is quiet, the hallway completely empty, and nothing looks out of the ordinary. Watch. First, a fog-like figure passed quickly. Then, the white 6-panel door at the end of the hallway slowly swings shut on its own, smooth, deliberate, and without any visible cause. No draft, no pet, no person anywhere in frame. Some viewers think it's as simple as air pressure or an uneven floor, but if you watch the motion, it moves with an almost intentional steadiness that's hard to dismiss. Others believe it's exactly the kind of subtle, low-level activity that suggests something is moving through the space unseen. What closed that door? This next video was recorded by a baby monitor camera in the early hours of December 16th, 2022 at around 12:39 a.m., the kind of footage that parents never want to find when they go back and review overnight recordings. The room is dark, the house is quiet, and a young girl is standing at the head of her crib, both hands gripping the top rail, the way toddlers do when they're restless and not quite ready to settle. Nothing about that moment looks unusual. Then, it happens. Watch. At around the 2-second mark, the girl is suddenly and violently pulled backward. Her hands release the rail instantly. Her body snaps flat onto the mattress, and the impact is audible. There's no wobble, no slow lean, no gradual loss of grip. Her scream follows immediately, loud and distressed, and it doesn't stop. What makes this so hard to dismiss is the nature of the movement itself. If you watch her posture just before the fall, she's stable, balanced, actively holding on. A typical stumble would involve a gradual shift of weight, maybe a sideways topple. This is a direct backward pull that happens in under a second. Some viewers believe this is exactly what a poltergeist-type interaction looks like. Not a slow creak or a door swinging, but a sudden physical force directed at a person. Others think the most likely explanation is that her sleep sack or clothing caught on something at the rail and dragged her down, which the footage itself makes very difficult to confirm either way. Whatever actually happened in that crib that night, the footage gives you just enough detail to form an opinion, and just enough ambiguity to doubt it. So, what do you think pulled her down? Take a look at this next case, recorded by a security camera on the night of May 7th of 2026 at around 10:51 p.m. A man in a light-colored t-shirt and shorts walks across the driveway holding what looks like a folded piece of clothing, then disappears off-frame. And for a few seconds, nothing happens. The driveway sits empty under shifting colored lights. Watch. Right there in the middle of the driveway, a bright fuzzy humanoid shape appears from nowhere, then vanishes in a massive flash of white light, just gone. Some viewers think it's a camera artifact or a clever edit, pointing to that abrupt cut between the two views. Others aren't so sure, because whatever that shape was, it doesn't move like a person. It simply materializes, then disappears. What do you think caused that flash? The following video was recorded inside a dimly lit home at nighttime, a quiet house that, by all appearances, looks completely ordinary. The person filming moves slowly through the space, a handheld phone casting just enough light to make out the shelving unit packed with dishes, the tiled floors, the beige curtain over a far window. Nothing seems off at first, but then the camera begins a slow, deliberate push toward a white door at the far end of the room, a door with 3 vertical panels, 3 bolt locks, and a long, dark pane of reflective glass. Whatever drew them toward it, they kept moving closer. Watch.
Bajé a tomarme un poco de agua y empecé a escuchar claramente cómo están tocando la puerta de enfrente. Esa puerta no da con la calle, esa puerta da a donde yo hago los tatuajes, al negocio. Y si están tocando, no hay nadie, no hay nadie. Igual también escuché ruidos aquí, pero no alcancé a grabarlos. Escucha. Se estaban escuchando. Escucha. Se escucha claramente. Se logra ver un reflejo allá, pero realmente no sé lo que sea. ¿Qué es eso? No mames. No manches, ¿qué es eso? La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Se ve claramente, amigos. Estoy seguro que al dar la vuelta no se va a dejar ver ya. Pero vean, se ve clarito esa sombra. Sin rostro y sin nada, véanlo. Estoy al límite aunque no lo crean. Estoy al límite, amigos. ¿Dónde estás? Perdón, me empiezan a dar ganas de eructar. ¿Dónde te escondiste? ¿Dónde te escondiste? La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder.
Emerging slowly in the reflection of that glass panel is a tall, slender, dark humanoid shape, standing completely still, positioned as if it were right there in the room behind whoever was filming. It doesn't move aggressively, it just stands for nearly a full minute. Then it fades, and when the camera returns to the door at the end of the clip, the reflection is empty. Many viewers immediately use the term shadow person to describe what they saw, a label that's become common in paranormal communities to describe dark, featureless humanoid shapes that appear briefly and seem to observe rather than interact. Others pushed back, arguing it's a trick of the low light and the smudged glass creating a convincing illusion. What makes it harder to dismiss is the patience of the figure. It doesn't startle, it doesn't rush, it lingers. Then, in what appears to be a follow-up recording at the same door on another night, the same person returned, and this time they weren't alone in what they experienced. Listen closely.
No mames. No manches, ¿qué es eso? La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Estoy al límite, amigos.
He's barely a few words in before the knocking starts. Sharp, rhythmic, coming from the door itself with no visible source, and his voice breaks into Spanish, shocked and then afraid, cycling into prayer. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder, repeated 3 times in a trembling voice before he finally admits, Estoy al límite, amigos. I'm at my limit, friends. The figure is back in the glass, same tall, dark silhouette, same stillness. Skeptics will point to the smudged, reflective surface as an easy explanation for the shape, but the knocking has no such easy answer. So what exactly is standing in that reflection? And what is it knocking for? Because whatever it is, it keeps coming back to the same door, on the same side of the glass, and it seems to know when the camera is there. Now, in this next clip, a man is standing in a doorway at night, filming the living room of what appears to be his home. A room with a crib, an armchair, and furniture he clearly knows well. He's already noticed something strange and wants to document it properly, so he positions himself at the threshold, reaches over to the light switch, and sets the scene. Watch.
This is actually creepy. Watch this. The light's on in the living room. Okay. I turn it off. Watch what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There's a silhouette right in front of me. Nah, this is messed up. I turn the light back on. There's nothing there. So where the hell is that shadow coming from?
The moment the lights go off, a tall, opaque, human-shaped silhouette materializes in the center of the room, standing completely still, right where the armchair is. When he flips the light back on, it's gone. Nothing there. Just the chair with clothes draped over it. Then the lights go off a second time and it comes back in the exact same spot, and this time it shifts. A subtle movement, like it's adjusting its weight. His breathing throughout is heavy and audible, and at one point he asks the question you're probably asking yourself too. So where the hell is that shadow coming from? Skeptics would argue this is a camera exposure trick. When the room light cuts out and the only illumination is the faint glow behind him, the auto exposure on his phone could render any person standing in that room as a solid black silhouette. That would explain why it vanishes the moment the main light comes back on. But that explanation only holds if someone else was standing in that dark room with him. And if there was, why didn't he mention it? A crib sits just to the left of that silhouette. Whatever was standing there, it was standing right next to it. The following clip was captured inside the old Gila County Jail in Globe, Arizona, widely considered one of the most haunted locations in the state. Since its closure in 1981, the jail has become a hotspot for paranormal investigations and has even appeared on shows like Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. One of the jail's most disturbing stories centers around a former inmate whose life ended inside his cell in 1911 while he was awaiting trial for the drowning of 2 young girls. In the days leading up to his death, he claimed the spirits of those girls were visiting him, tormenting him inside his cell. To this day, visitors report sudden drops in temperature, an overwhelming sense of dread, and faint sobbing near his former cell in cell block B. Over the years, guests and investigators have also reported being touched, scratched, or pushed by unseen forces, along with disembodied voices, unexplained footsteps, and loud bangs echoing through the second floor. On this particular night, a group of investigators set up a camera at the foot of one of the staircases. Watch closely.
I hear something in here now. Whatever it is, we have to drive on this line. Yep, oh, I guarantee we do. Just hold on, worry about it. You might need to walk through and see what's going on.
This voice is impressive on its own, but what makes it even more compelling is that one of our 2 investigators talking at the top of the stairs, discussing their worry about the rain, caught the same voice from one of their cameras. Take a listen.
Here, Riley? Yeah.
We let this video extend a bit longer to give you a comparison of the 3 voices heard in this clip, our 2 investigators' voices and the 3rd disembodied voice. To add to the mystery surrounding these stairs, less than 2 hours later, another camera at the top of these stairs automatically shuts itself off. Our team hurried to figure out what happened to the camera, realizing that we need to fix this unknown issue downstairs at base camp. This is what happened. After going through over 3 hours of footage, listening through the heavy rain and natural echoes through the prison, this voice is only heard twice. What are your thoughts?
Some believe it may be connected to the inmate whose restless presence is said to linger near the upper floors, while others think it could be something even older tied to the jail itself. It's moments like this that remind people why the old Gila County Jail continues to be an enigma, one that refuses to give up its secrets. Now this next clip comes from a guy named Chris, who regularly explores abandoned buildings with long, often unsettling histories. In this particular video, he's inside one of those locations alone, documenting the space when something strange is caught on camera. Watch closely.
Did you hear that? That was loud. What the hell? What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
At first, there's a loud bang that echoes through the building, sharp enough to make him freeze. Almost immediately after, you can see something shift in the frame, subtle but unmistakable. Chris later explains that in that exact moment, it felt like someone reached out and grabbed him by the shoulder. When this video surfaced, reactions were split. Viewers unfamiliar with Chris and his work were quick to dismiss it as post-production editing or a staged effect. But longtime followers pointed out that Chris doesn't usually sensationalize his footage, and that abandoned structures like this are often unpredictable, both structurally and otherwise. Whether it was something physical, something paranormal, or just a moment caught at the worst possible time, one thing is clear: whatever happened in that building left Chris visibly shaken. And for many who've explored places like this before, that reaction says more than the footage itself. In the following video, a man says he's been dealing with a persistent and unsettling feeling that someone is inside his house with him, and whenever that feeling hits, it's not subtle. His chest suddenly feels heavy, like the air around him has thickened, making it hard to breathe normally. He describes it as a pressure that comes out of nowhere, usually late at night when the house is quiet. One night, that same feeling returned. Instead of brushing it off, he picked up his phone, hoping to finally catch whoever or whatever was causing it. But what he ended up recording was something he didn't expect at all. Watch closely. After seeing this, he says he's now convinced that something is moving freely inside his home, aware of his presence, but careful about when it reveals itself. Some viewers believe this could explain the physical sensations he's been feeling, suggesting that intense fear or stress can manifest as chest pressure when someone senses danger. Paranormal investigators often approach situations like this in different ways. Some believe acknowledging the presence gives it strength, while others suggest setting firm boundaries, cleansing the space, or even temporarily leaving the home to break whatever attachment may exist. And then there are those who say that when your instincts keep warning you, when your body reacts before your mind does, it's not something to ignore. Because sometimes when your gut tells you you're not alone, it might already be too late to pretend otherwise. This next video is about Kyle, who has been living in this house for about a year and a half, and whatever is happening there has never stayed in one place. The activity seems to move freely through the home, starting in the crawl space, then shifting to the attic, later the garage, and now even the rooms where he sleeps. Kyle reports hearing children laughing in empty hallways, objects shifting when no one is near them, and sudden noises that don't repeat in the same location twice. Hoping to find a logical source, Kyle decides to check the attic himself, thinking maybe there's something hidden or overlooked that could explain everything. But what he finds only raises more questions. Watch.
Shit. Oh my God. Shit. Damn it. I'm hearing voices up here again. Yo. There's like a little kid laughing. Surely you heard that. Oh man, it's getting funny at this point. What the heck? I think some of y'all are right. I think ever since I put that ornament that I found up here on the Christmas tree, things have been a little wild. Happy holidays, I guess. Okay, maybe it's time to get out of here. I thought I was going to come up here and look around, see if I could find anything else, but we might have to... Maybe I just need to get a friend to come with me or something. Yeah, we'll see about that.
At first, Kyle believes he's only hearing voices, but if you look closely, a figure appears to be standing completely still directly in front of him. Some viewers also point out faint orbs drifting through the frame, and combined with the voices, many believe the attic was already fully active before Kyle ever stepped inside. Whether this is a single entity moving through the house or something far more complex, one thing is clear: the activity in Kyle's home isn't slowing down. Now in this next video, a man shares footage that many viewers say proves that renovating a house doesn't erase whatever energy is already there. Here's a bit of background. The house was originally built in 1949 and has gone through several renovations over the years. At the time this video was recorded, it was still occupied by an elderly woman, and the man in the clip would regularly come by to carry out remodeling work. But according to him, every time he stepped into the house, something felt off. He described sudden cold spots, the uneasy feeling of being watched, and no matter how long he stayed, he never felt fully alone. One day, while working in the basement, something happened right in front of him. Watch. Viewers were quick to point out that there's no obvious explanation for how it shifts the way it does. Some believe the age of the house plays a role, that decades of lived experiences, emotions, and unresolved events can leave something behind, especially in places like basements where energy is said to linger. Others think the activity could be tied to the former owner herself, or even the tension surrounding the home. Shortly after this was recorded, the elderly woman was moved into a nursing home and the house was put up for sale. According to the man, the family had already begun arguing over money and her will, creating even more unrest around the property. Whether it's residual energy from the past, something attached to the house itself, or just another unexplained moment caught on camera, this home seems to carry more than just its history, and whatever moved that chair may not be finished making its presence known. In this next clip, a family was settling in for the night, watching a horror movie called The Deliverance, a film inspired by the real-life 2011 Demon House case of LaToya Ammons in Gary, Indiana. Everything felt normal at first, just another scary movie night, until the atmosphere inside the house began to change. Right in the middle of the film, the power suddenly went out in the parlor. Almost immediately after, the family felt a heavy shift in the room, the unmistakable sensation that someone had just walked into the living room with them. Panicked, they went to their rooms, hoping whatever it was would stop there. But whatever entered the house that night wasn't finished. Watch.
Oh, hell no! Bro, stop. Bro, what the? Oh, hell no, you gotta go.
After this encounter, the family swore off horror movies completely. Many viewers believe films based on real events can stir up fear, emotion, and attention, things that some say act like an invitation. Others argue it's a coincidence, that the tension from the movie simply heightened their senses. But there are also those who warn that once something makes itself known, it doesn't always leave on its own. The real concern now is whether this was a one-time incident, or the beginning of something that plans to come back when the house goes quiet again. What do you think? Now, in this next video, a family's dog has been acting strangely, and what it reacts to has left viewers uneasy. Watch closely.
You're crazy.
The dog is clearly seeing something no one else can see, but two details immediately stand out. First, the family doesn't seem overly concerned. They brush it off, suggesting the dog is simply acting out or responding to a random noise. And second, when the dog becomes more agitated, they shush it, a moment that made many viewers uncomfortable. A lot of people believe animals sense changes in their environment long before humans do, especially when it comes to unfamiliar presences or sudden shifts in energy. What makes this even stranger is that only one dog reacts. So, what do you think? An overreactive pet? Or the only one in the house paying attention? Now, in this next clip, the popular Midwest ghost hunter Ian continues his solo exploration through the haunted buildings of Bonanzaville. Still inside the mansion, he enters one particular bedroom that many visitors say feels different from the rest. This is the room where people have reported seeing an imprint on the bed, as if someone is lying there even when the room is empty. It's also believed to be the very room where the mansion's owner, David, passed away. Watch closely.
Well, doesn't really look like it. David, did you die in this room? I heard you died of a brain hemorrhage, and I'm very, very sorry to hear that. Are you the one that leaves the imprint on the pillow? Could you do it right now? What the heck is that? What is that? Mom? Is somebody downstairs? What the heck is that? It's like a jingling sound. What the heck is that? It's down there.
After leaving the room, Ian starts hearing unexplained sounds coming from downstairs. As he follows the sound, he captures something even more unsettling.
Wait a minute. Look at that. Dude, those things are freaking moving. Oh, hell no. Hell no. How is that even possible? Look at that. You're freaking moving like crazy. And that's her seance table. That's even more terrifying. Oh, God. How is that even happening? There's no air in here or anything. Oh, God. Look at that. They're still moving. Oh, what? Dude, this camera just died.
The crystals on the lamp begin swaying back and forth aggressively, far more than a draft or vibration could explain. What makes this moment even stranger is what happens next. As Ian approaches the table, both of his cameras suddenly die, despite showing full battery just moments earlier. Almost immediately, Ian begins to feel lightheaded, overwhelmed, and uneasy, sensations many investigators associate with intense paranormal encounters. Realizing something may not want him there anymore, Ian makes the decision to leave the mansion. Was this a warning, or something following him all along? You decide. For more haunting videos including Ian, subscribe to the channel now. The following video dates back to 2024 and was captured by a family's security camera on a quiet Sunday night at around 9 p.m., a time when nothing unusual would normally be expected, especially inside a home where everyone is settled in for the evening. That sense of normalcy, however, is interrupted when the woman's son goes into the kitchen to make himself a cup of coffee, a simple routine that quickly turns into something far more unsettling. Not long after, he rushes back to her room, visibly shaken, his face pale and his voice unsteady, insisting that he heard someone call his name, not faintly or from a distance, but clearly enough to make him respond, even though no one in the house had called out to him. Within seconds, the CCTV system sends a notification, motion detected in the living room, despite the fact that no one is supposed to be there. Naturally, they check the footage, expecting to find something ordinary, something explainable, but instead, they see this watch. The camera itself begins to move, as though it is tracking something. Then, without warning, the scooter seat snaps shut with force. Some viewers pointed out that in the initial footage, while the sound is clear, the movement itself is difficult to fully see, raising questions about whether it could be a technical issue or a trick of perspective. But then, they shared another angle. Watch. This time, the movement becomes harder to dismiss, reinforcing the idea that something is interacting with the environment. After this incident, the family decides to bless the house, taking steps to cleanse the space and restore a sense of safety. And for a while, it seems to work, as the disturbances stop and life returns to normal, or at least something close to it. But nearly 2 years later, on March 17th, 2026, at around 2 a.m. when everyone in the house is asleep, something happens again. Watch. The bike was stationary and untouched, so how did this happen? The family is beginning to think that whatever may have been present before didn't fully leave, but instead remained dormant, quiet for a long period before making itself known again. Now the family is left questioning whether what they experienced years ago has returned, or whether there is another explanation that is yet to be uncovered. Because when something disappears and then reappears after such a long silence, it creates the unsettling possibility that it was never truly gone, only waiting for the right moment to be noticed again. But you be the judge. In this next clip, a woman is home alone, going about something as routine as doing the dishes when she suddenly begins to hear strange knocking sounds coming from another part of the house. But when she looks around, everything appears normal. No movement and no sign of anyone being there. Still unsettled, she decides to take an extra step, setting up a camera in the living room before heading back to the kitchen, almost as if she anticipates that whatever made the noise might happen again, but this time she wants proof. A few minutes later, the camera captures this. Watch.
Okay, I'm so crazy, right? Here you go. Baby is terrified. Hold on. I know. You're okay. You're okay. I know.
For a long time, these events remained unexplained, disconnected pieces of a pattern she couldn't fully understand until she eventually traced it back to something she had almost forgotten about. A necklace she purchased back in 2011 from an estate sale, something she initially saw as just a unique vintage piece. The necklace carried unfamiliar symbols, details she didn't think much of at the time, but later came to learn were associated with a figure known for occult rituals and darker spiritual practices, giving the object a context she hadn't considered when she first brought it into her home. Some viewers have pointed out that in many beliefs, objects linked to rituals or symbolic practices are not always the source, but sometimes just a medium. Something that allows access rather than containing it, which raises a more unsettling possibility that removing the object may not necessarily remove whatever became attached through it. Now, in this next video, a family documents a series of escalating events inside their home, compiling multiple incidents over time to show just how far things have progressed. And what stands out immediately is not just the activity itself, but the pattern, because each new experience appears more intense than the last, as though whatever is behind it is becoming more comfortable, more direct, and far less subtle in how it makes its presence known. Have a look. At different points, the activity takes on different forms. Sometimes it's objects being thrown with force. like a knife suddenly moving in a way that clearly isn't accidental. Other times, it's voices echoing through the house when no one is speaking, or lights behaving unpredictably, flickering or reacting without any clear electrical cause. Viewers believe this may not be a simple haunting, but something more aggressive, like a demon. And this raises a deeper question. How do demons find their way into homes? Some believe it can begin with seemingly small actions, bringing in objects with unknown histories, engaging with rituals or practices without full understanding, or even repeated acknowledgement of unexplained activity, which in certain beliefs is thought to strengthen whatever is there. Others suggest that prolonged emotional stress or conflict within a space can create an environment that attracts or amplifies negative presence, turning the home itself into a place where that energy can settle and grow. So, whether you see this as something explainable or something far more serious, one thing becomes clear. Being mindful of what you bring into your space, what you engage with, and what you choose to ignore may matter more than it seems. Because once something crosses that threshold, getting it to leave may not be nearly as simple as keeping it out in the first place. So, beware. A family who had just moved into a new apartment begins to notice small things that don't quite add up. The kind of details that are easy to brush off at first, but become harder to ignore the more often they happen. It starts with subtle disturbances, objects not being where they were left, faint sounds late at night that seem to come from empty rooms, and moments where the air feels strangely heavy, as though the space hasn't quite settled into being lived in yet. Over time, these incidents begin to form a pattern, one that the family can no longer dismiss as coincidence, especially after experiencing multiple events that feel increasingly difficult to explain. By the time this recording is made, they refer to it as the third major incident they've captured, almost as if they've reached a point where they expect something to happen rather than hope it won't. Watch.
See, it's still happening. Honestly, this is all the time. Whoa, Jesus. The cat scared the shit out of me. Rory, you were really scaring the shit out of me. I know Rory didn't do that. What the f*** is going on? What the f*** happened, Rory?
Your first thought is airflow from a vent, but how do you explain the door? What adds to the tension is the fact that he was completely alone at the time, removing any immediate explanation tied to another person's presence. When activities begin shortly after moving into a new space, it may not be something newly introduced, but something that was already there, something tied to the environment rather than the people who now occupy it. And when each new incident builds on the last, becoming more noticeable, more physical, and harder to dismiss, it creates a growing sense that whatever is causing it is not random. But until more updates are shared, what exactly is behind these disturbances remains unclear. The following video is about a man named Jorge, who for some time has been dealing with recurring shadow figures and a series of deeply unsettling events that, at first, seemed limited to his surroundings. Objects shifting slightly out of place, brief shapes appearing at the edge of his vision, and an ongoing feeling that he was not alone, even when there was no one else physically present. There was also a moment that raised even more concern, when he began acting in a way he could not later recall, behavior that others described as completely unlike him, leaving him dependent on his own security footage to understand what had taken place, as if there were periods of time where he was present, but not fully in control. And now, this is what he's dealing with. Watch.
Guys, I was getting ready to go to sleep and I just heard a door slam. Shut loud. I just heard a door slam. Oh, shit! Oh no. Somebody's there. In the name of the Son and the Holy Spirit, I ask every demon, I command every demon to leave the house right now. I command in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, leave the house now. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask you to leave this house now. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. You are not welcome in this home. You are not welcome in this home. This is the house of... There's a door slamming and people screaming. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
At first, the door slammed, then he felt something move past him. Some interpretations suggest that when activity progresses from external disturbances to direct influence on a person's physical state and awareness, it may indicate a deeper level of attachment, something that is no longer confined to the environment alone. Others believe that the presence of shadow-like movement, especially when it appears to move quickly and deliberately, can be associated with entities that do not fully manifest, but still retain the ability to interact with both space and perception. For now, what Jorge is experiencing continues without a clear explanation or resolution, and until more information comes to light, this case remains one of those situations where the pieces are visible, the pattern is forming, but the full picture is still just out of reach. Now this next video was captured by Jennifer, who owns a beautiful historic home dating all the way back to 1907, a place filled with carefully preserved antique pieces, some of which date even earlier to around 1903, giving the house a sense of history that feels both rich and, at times, a little too present. At first glance, everything about the home appears warm and inviting, the kind of place that reflects elegance and character rather than anything unsettling. However, after speaking with a local historian, Jennifer learned something that added a different layer to that history, that when the house was first built, there were no nearby hospitals, and as a result, it is believed that at least 4 people passed away inside the home itself, a detail that, while not unusual for the time period, begins to take on a different meaning when paired with what she starts experiencing. On this particular day, while cleaning the second floor, she begins to hear something. Listen closely.
Hearing some noises upstairs. Emily went home. I'm cleaning. I usually clean on Saturdays. I feel like when I clean, hear that. Then I hear noises upstairs. Just heard it. Speaking also, like a noises in the upstairs are coming from that way. Hear that? Wow. Good, I really hope they're cleaning because I could use some help. It's crazy. It's like I hear like a broom being dragged by, or just housekeeper shuffling or something. Obviously the creek. Oh, I just heard some music again.
Before jumping to conclusions, there's a piece of the home's past that many believe could be connected to what's happening. As far back as the 1930s, the family who lived there had a housekeeper named Mildred, and according to stories passed down by previous residents, the house tends to become noticeably more active during the month she passed away, with sounds that resemble someone moving through the rooms, almost as if routine has continued long after it should have ended. To this day, the house remains a place filled with both history and unanswered questions, and whatever presence may still linger within its walls remains a mystery. The following video was recorded by a woman who shares her paranormal experiences online, and this particular night, she says she got more than she bargained for. She sleeps in the bottom bunk of a bunk bed, and on this night, at 3:33 in the morning, she had her phone pointed up toward the top bunk when something caught her attention. That time, 3:33 a.m., carries weight for a lot of people who follow paranormal activity closely, sometimes called the Devil's Hour, a window where unexplained events are said to spike in frequency. She'd been lying there unsettled when she noticed the gray blanket hanging over the edge of the top bunk. Watch.
Hace apenas 2 días, toda mi familia y yo presenciamos, nos tocaron la puerta, era la 1:15, 1:20, la verdad exactamente no sé los minutos, pero era pasado 1 de la mañana. Obviamente, iban a abrir la puerta y yo no, o sea, ¿qué pedo? No la abras, o sea, claro que no. Primero buscamos una lógica de que si hubiera caído algo dentro de la casa, algo que hubiera hecho un ruido que como que pareciera que estuvieran tocando, algo dentro del closet, algo dentro de una bodega, algo en la lavandería, algo que azotara la pared, ¿sabes? No había nada. Todo estaba en su lugar. Efectivamente, tocaron afuera 3 veces, fueron 3 golpes. Si alguien sabe qué significa 3 golpes, de que así, 3 veces, fuerte, a la 1 de la mañana, todos lo escuchamos, todos, inclusive mi familia que está viendo la tele a todo volumen en la sala, escucharon, tanto como yo que estaba en otra habitación, todos escuchamos.
The blanket is slowly and deliberately pulled upward, tucked, almost, and then it's gone from view entirely, with no one visibly on the top bunk doing it. Her reaction afterwards says everything. She describes how the blanket moved and, impossibly, a small hair clip she keeps on the top bunk appeared from underneath a pillow. A pillow she says there was no natural way for it to have moved beneath. She muted the audio from the moment it happened because, in her own words, she screamed very badly. That kind of raw, unscripted panic is hard to fake. Some viewers think someone off-frame caused the blanket to move, but others point out the smooth, upward motion doesn't match a simple snag or fall. Either way, it clearly shook her. This next clip was recorded inside what appears to be a child's bedroom. A bright, ordinary room with a bunk bed, a white dresser, and string lights along the wall, at just after 8 in the morning, according to the security camera timestamp. The woman in the footage is simply picking out clothes, going about a completely routine start to the day in what the footage suggests is Sarah's room, when the atmosphere of the whole clip shifts in a matter of seconds. There's a dog, a large fluffy one, that wanders in and out of the closet, and for a moment everything looks completely normal. Then, it got worse. There's no one else in the room, but you can tell from the way she slowly looks up toward the ceiling that she hears what comes next. Something running. Not something shifting or settling, but rapid thumping and scraping from directly above, like something scrambling across the ceiling space. Then come the knocks. 2 sharp bangs, then 3 more in quick succession, and she flinches hard at the first set. Many believe this kind of layered activity, sounds without sources, doors moving without contact, voices with no origin, points to what's often called poltergeist phenomena, a term rooted in German meaning noisy ghost, traditionally associated with environments where a child is present. Skeptics might argue a pet in the walls or loose ductwork, but that doesn't easily explain the way the dog reacted, like it knew something was there even before the woman noticed something was not right. Now, in this next clip, a couple is at home late at night when something appears in the doorway of their bedroom, and what makes this one so hard to shake is the way it just stands there, watching. The man holding the camera is in the middle of reciting the Lord's Prayer in Spanish when he spots it, which tells you something about what kind of nights they've apparently been having in this house. You don't pray over a quiet bedroom unless something has already been pushing you to that point. His voice is calm at first, steady, like he's done this before. Watch.
Nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad así en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas así como nosotros perdonamos a quien nos ofende. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. Lárgate de aquí. Lárgate. Lárgate. Lárgate de aquí. Lárgate, demonio. Vete de aquí. Está cabrón. A ver. Vete. Vete. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. ¡A la madre, puta puta! Hijo de tu puta madre, güey. ¡A su virga, güey! ¡A su madre! No mames, cabrón. ¡Lárgate! Lárgate. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad así en la tierra como en el cielo. danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día, perdona nuestras ofensas, y como nosotros perdonamos a quien nos ofende. No nos dejes caer en tentación, líbranos de mal. Amén. Oh, poderoso Dios, ayúdanos, protégenos.
The figure peeks from behind the door frame. Dark hair, humanoid shape, mostly still. And the moment the man registers what he's seen, the prayer stops cold. He starts screaming commands in Spanish, telling it to get out, calling it a demon, invoking the blood of Christ, before finally slamming the door shut with enough force to shake the camera. When he pans back to the woman in the bed, she's holding a small child wrapped in a blanket, both of them frozen with fear. For some viewers, the religious framing is the most telling detail. The fact that he went straight to spiritual commands rather than assuming an intruder suggests this wasn't the first time something like this had visited that doorway. Others think the figure could be explained as a person, though the way it pulls back and disappears the moment he reacts is difficult to square with that. When he finally opens the door and checks the hallway, there's nothing there. So what exactly was standing in that doorway? And why was it watching? Now, in this next clip, a man broke into an abandoned school somewhere in Mexico, phone in hand, already talking himself through the silence the way people do when they're more nervous than they want to admit. Cracked concrete underfoot, overturned desks piled against pale green walls, a chalkboard still covered in old chalk graffiti, the year 2019 still faintly legible through the blur. He kept whispering to the camera in Spanish, telling his audience there was nothing here, just dust and broken furniture, as if saying it out loud would make it true. But his breathing told a different story. Watch.
Pues ya vieron, güey. Puro pinche pedo, no hay ni madres a la verga. Ay, no mames. No mames. ¿Quién es? ¿Quién es? Qué verga pregunto, güey.
Some online have called it a crawler or slender type entity, a label popular on paranormal forums. But skeptics point to the creature's perfectly timed appearance as signs this was carefully staged. What do you think? Now, in this next clip, a man in Mexico is alone at home at 1:26 in the morning when he decides to start recording, because something has already knocked on his front door 3 times and he has no idea who or what keeps doing it. He walks through his house with his phone's flashlight cutting through the darkness, narrating to his followers in Spanish, his voice already shaking. He says he's scared, that he doesn't even know what's going on inside his own home anymore. You can feel the tension building with every step he takes. Watch.
Amigos, son las 1:26 de la madrugada y estoy solo. Ya van 3 veces que me tocan la puerta a mi casa y relativamente pues yo estoy solo, pero pues la verdad es que sí me da miedo. La neta no sé ni qué onda en mi casa y pues sí me da un chingo de miedo. Les juro. No mames, vete a la verga. No mames, no mames. Vete a la verga. No, neta, vete a la verga. Se acaba de caer esta madre. No mames. No mames.
First, a rhinoceros figurine launches off a shelf inside a glass display cabinet and crashes onto the tiled floor with no one near it, and his reaction is immediate raw panic, running, screaming, swearing in Spanish as he tears through the house. Then, just as he starts to settle into another room, a dark object is thrown violently across the floor directly in front of him, and the clip ends with him screaming. 2 separate objects, 2 separate rooms, no visible cause for either. Some viewers think this is poltergeist activity, a type of disturbance often described not as a ghost, but as a force, something that moves and throws physical objects with apparent intent. Others aren't convinced and think it could be staged. But if you watch how quickly he runs, how genuinely terrified he sounds, you decide. This next clip was recorded by a woman working as a cleaner inside a large 2-story home in Arizona. Daytime, mid-shift with her colleague somewhere on the upper floor. According to her, while the 2 of them were both upstairs, she started hearing sounds coming from the kitchen below, the distinct noise of cabinet doors opening and closing on their own, in a house where no one else should have been. Her voice is shaky from the very first second. She films herself in what appears to be a bathroom, wide-eyed and whispering in Spanish, explaining that they're completely alone and the sounds are coming from downstairs. Watch.
Estamos en la casa donde dicen que se parece a la casa paranormal y no solamente se parece, aquí han pasado cosas que hemos grabado. Ahorita estoy aquí haciendo un baño y de repente se escucha ruidos. Estamos nada más mi compañera y yo. Les voy a enseñar las escaleras. ¿Estás escuchando? ¿Estás escuchando? Oye, se está escuchando los... Déjenme voltear la cámara. A ver, ¿sí estás escuchando? Pues no está nadie. Miren, vamos a ver. Ya sé, es que desde aquí ahora se está escuchando los gabinetes. No hay nadie. O sea, no hay nada, no hay nadie. Y no sé si ustedes escuchaban los gabinetes. Pero en el cuarto de allá arriba es donde falleció el muchacho. Oigan. No hay nadie. No hay nadie. Se escuchan los gabinetes. Y ahorita estamos en la parte de arriba. Ay, cabrón. Se siente medio ñañaras. Las escaleras, ¿se escuchan los gabinetes? Mucha gente la confunde con la casa. La paranormal. Ponme un comentario si escuchaste lo que son los gabinetes.
She never catches the source on camera. By the time she makes it down the stairs and pans across the kitchen, every single cabinet door is closed, exactly as it should be. She even stops at the bottom of the staircase, points back up, and says, firmly, like she needs you to understand, that both she and her colleague were upstairs the entire time. No one was down there. The sounds she describes fall into what some investigators call intelligent activity, not random environmental noise, but purposeful movement that responds to the presence of people in a space, stopping just before anyone gets a look. Skeptics would argue HVAC systems and old cabinetry can produce sounds like that in large homes, especially ones with temperature fluctuations. But if you listen to the way her breath catches at the end, it's hard to dismiss what she clearly believes she heard. So what do you think opened those cabinets? This next clip starts as a genuinely unsettling moment. A woman alone inside the old Sorrel Weed House Museum late on a Wednesday evening, moving through a room filled with antique furniture and historical artifacts, a candlestick in hand as she documents her visit. The house is quiet, the kind of quiet that seems to press in from every direction when you're surrounded by centuries-old walls and dimly lit hallways. Then a sudden metallic crash explodes from somewhere deeper inside the building. She freezes instantly. The sound is loud enough that it doesn't feel like an old house settling. It sounds like something has fallen, something heavy. If the location sounds familiar, it's because the Sorrelweed House has been at the center of ghost stories for generations. Built in the 1840s in Savannah, a city already famous for its haunted reputation, the house is surrounded by stories of tragedy, death, and alleged paranormal activity. According to local legend, one of the most famous stories involves Matilda Sorrel, the wife of the home's original owner, who reportedly died after discovering an affair between her husband and an enslaved woman named Molly. The story claims that Molly later died under mysterious circumstances as well, with some versions suggesting she fell from a balcony, while others imply something far darker happened within the house. Whether those stories are entirely accurate or not, they have become deeply attached to the building's identity. Over the years, visitors and staff have reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, voices coming from behind locked doors, objects moving without explanation, and the sensation of being watched while alone in the house. Some claim they've heard a woman crying from upper floors where nobody was present. Others describe seeing dark figures standing silently at the ends of hallways before vanishing when approached. People often arrive expecting to learn about the ghosts. They leave wondering if the ghosts were aware of them the entire time. And judging by the timing of that crash, the woman may not have been as alone in that house as she thought. The following video was recorded inside a family's home. A quiet, carpeted bedroom, a floor mirror against the wall, soft light coming through a sheer curtain on the far side of the room. A toddler girl, no older than 2 or 3, is standing with her back to her mother's camera, singing softly to herself, completely at ease, swaying, lost in her own little world. For about 30 seconds, nothing feels wrong at all. Then, it does. Watch.
What's wrong?
Hey, what's here?
No one's here. What happened?
It's cute.
You scared?
I scary. I monster and it's scary a monster.
What?
Mid-song, she just stops, turns her head slowly toward the curtain, and something in her body language shifts in a way you don't expect from a child that age. She turns to face the camera, her expression serious, and tells her mother she's scared. Then she points directly at the corner near that curtain window and says there's someone over there. The mother confirms no one else is in the room. Many believe young children, especially toddlers, are more attuned to things adults simply can't perceive. Others think it's imagination, but that shift, from singing to frozen to pointing, happens in seconds, and it's hard to explain away. What do you think she saw? Now, in this next clip, a young woman is resting inside her apartment late at night when something in her room sends her into a full sprint out of the building, and she doesn't stop until she's outside on the street, gasping, hands shaking, camera rolling. Watch.
Oh my god, I think there was something in my room. I don't know.
Once she's outside, she finally stops, and that's when she turns the camera up toward a second-story window, her window, where something is standing in the light, unnaturally tall and walking around the room like it owns the place. Some viewers suggest it could be a trick of perspective, shadows stretching across the room, furniture distorting under light. But that explanation struggles to account for the movement, the way the figure moves, the way it carries a form that doesn't break apart like light usually would. Others lean toward a more paranormal explanation, suggesting it could be something tied to the apartment itself, possibly the presence of a former occupant, something that remained behind and now occupies the space in a way that overlaps with the living. But even that theory raises questions, because the height of the figure doesn't quite align with something familiar or human, making it feel less like a lingering presence and more like something entirely different. And that's where the discomfort settles in, because whatever she ran from didn't follow her out. It stayed behind, moving inside her apartment as if it had every right to be there, but with no further updates and no explanation that confirms what she saw or what remained in that room after she left. This encounter continues to sit in that space between possibility and uncertainty, with no clear answer in sight. The following video was recorded by an overnight caregiver who'd been noticing something strange in the home where she worked. Every night, around the same time, sounds would start moving through the house. Shuffling, creaking, the kind of noises that made it impossible to stay asleep. Now, this particular home had a female patient who, according to her medical situation, doesn't walk. So when the sounds kept coming back, she decided to do something about it. She pretended to fall asleep, hid her phone beneath the covers near the couch, and let it record. The room stays dark, and for a while, nothing seems out of place until something, or in this case, someone appears in the hallway. Watch. A woman emerges from the far corner of the hallway while hunched forward at the waist, feet planted apart, completely still, staring directly toward where she's lying. She doesn't move. The caregiver says she stayed like that for over an hour. Many viewers believe what they're seeing is something that goes well beyond a medical condition. Others aren't sure what to believe, but that image, that stillness, is hard to explain away.